Yeah, and that brings us to the event that I think everyone's interested in. Folks, Phil was forced to shoot a brown bear who was threatening his clients. We're going to let him tell the story, but the upshot is that he successfully did that using a handgun that you're probably not going to believe. So I think without any further interruption, Phil, I would love you to tell us the story about that incident. Exactly what happened.
Well, I can do this. Still kind of vividly burned into my memory. But okay. I had a clients. They had two young ladies. They'd come up with us 2 or 3 times. He was a professor from Cornell, and his wife and they were teenage daughters at the time, and they'd fish with us multiple times, and we see bears virtually every day we were fishing. But this day, it was too windy. I couldn't fly in the morning, so the kids got doing something with my daughter, and then it looked like I could probably make it to a close creek. So I asked who wanted to go fishing, and husband and wife wanted to go fishing, and the kids wanted to stay with Tia. I mean, they were teenage daughters. They weren't tiny kids. And so we flew off, and walking down to the stream, there's an old dry creek bed that ran parallel to it, and it was overgrown. The grass was in places chest high. It was waist to chest high grass, and then along on the sides, 5 yards on either side of us were with the trees. And as we came around a bend, I heard a growling in the bushes ahead of us, and it was coming toward us. And I yelled and hollered and had my pistol out. Well, and the bear turned around and ran. Well, the pistol I had picked as we left the plane, I had a 44 Magnum I've carried for 30-some years, and I just done some testing for Tim Sunless from Buffalo Boar. He'd sent me some 9mm ammo, and I took it out. That was just the week before, and I set up some damp magazines and dry ones, and kind of a typical gun writer, how deep would these penetrate, and I try all the other bullets along with it. And the 9mm was not far behind the 357 that I carry with 180 grains. And I thought I had shot bears with that before, just carcasses to test. I'd never had to kill one, an unwounded bear. I'd killed plenty of bears clients had wounded, but and I thought the 9mm would do it. And it was late in the afternoon. I said, this thing is a lot lighter than my 44. So I thought, I'll just stick it on. I'm going to fish this creek for 30-some years. So we walked down there, and no sooner had we got there, this bear comes charging out. But I hollered, and it turned and ran away, which is what most bears do. But what it had, and then within 20 seconds, we had turned around just to go start walking again, and the bear had circled around, got downwind, and was coming straight back at us at full bore. I could hear him in the bushes just, whoof, 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 and branches were crashing. And I knew I wouldn't see him. He would be within 12, 15 feet of me before I could even see him in the grass. And he was coming. I was thinking, your brain's going fast in these times. I'm thinking, even my 4.58, I'll be lucky to get a shot off at this bear. And he knows who we are because he's already circled around, got our wind, and is coming back. And he's sounded pretty serious. But just as he came out, the clients were 20 feet behind me. And as the bear came out, he went straight for the clients. And for their benefit, they just grabbed each other. The husband put his arm around, they put his arm around each other and fell down in the grass. And the bear was standing on them. I looked, where's the bear? He's standing on me. He's swinging the head side to side, highly agitated, but confused because bears, when they run into more than multiple people, they're figuring things out too. But I could see he was standing. I was thinking, am I going to have to shoot this bear? I don't want to. He was maybe 12, 15 feet from me at the most. And then I was thinking, where are my clients? Whatever I did, I didn't want to shoot a client. I think for guides, that's pretty much a bad career move. So plus they were friends. So as the bears, and then I think, well, he knows who we are. All this goes through your mind in split seconds. He knows we're here. He knows who we are. He's come back intentionally to attack us. So I figured I had to shoot him. So I popped him with a 9mm right behind his shoulder. The head was just swinging side. The head was bouncing back and forth. He's looking around, looking for the clients, because he is literally standing on top of them. They told me at the end.
Did he literally have his paws on their flesh?
Yes. The woman, she says, he could have bit us at any time. His face was right at my face level. She could see he was standing on above them, but he was always right above them, and the head was just going back and forth over them. And so I said, I didn't know. They were gone as far as I was concerned. I knew where I'd seen them last, and there was a bear standing there now, but I didn't know what had happened to them because my concentration was on the bear coming out of the bushes. And so I finally said, okay, I'm going to have to shoot him. I popped him right behind the shoulders, where the same place I'd shoot with a rifle. And he roared and he turned and bit at it. And then as he turned back around again, I'm thinking, okay, do I have to shoot him again? It's like, well, yes, I got to. So I popped him again. Same results. Turned, roar, bit at the wound, turned back around, I hit him again. It was kind of a whack-a-mole then. Every time he'd turn sideways, I'd shoot him again, right in the same spot, right behind the shoulder. And I could see he was kind of getting tired of the game. And he did one more time where I hit him the third, turned around, hit him the fourth time, and he ran. And he turned to run. I'm usually, I've been, after all these years, if a wounded bear's getting away, I try to break his hip. But I'm carrying a .458. So I shoots him in the rear again, thinking, and then I thought, what am I doing? He's leaving. That's all I wanted at this moment, was the bear to be gone. But I saw him pile up, not 10 yards away. He just nosed over and piled up. And two heads popped up out of the grass. I was glad to see that. And they said, we heard your warning shot. And I'm thinking, that's what warning shot? But there had been a pause between my first one and the second one. I guess I must have picked up tempo a little bit afterwards. I wasn't aware of it, but they were. And
so your final shots were pretty quick, huh?
They were pretty quick. And I thought, well, he was still moving. I thought, I'm going to go over and finish him off. It's kind of what I do. I started walking over. I said, I better look. I had one round left. And I said, I'm not going after a wounded brown bear with a single shot 9mm. And then the lady says, are we going fishing still? And I said, well, if you want to, yeah, we can go. And she says, I don't really feel like it. So
I can believe it.
So we walked back. The plane wasn't maybe, I don't know, 100 yards behind us. I just lost an earbud here. Plane was real close. It wasn't 100 yards behind us. We walked back, flew back to camp. And when I got out of the airplane, Tia was there, my daughter, because she had seen us leave, and she knew something was wrong. She says, why are you back? I said, we had a DLP, which that means a defense of life and property. That's the way Alaska. And, her face just went white, and she looked to make sure everybody was safe. My concern was if I'd had two teenage girls also there at the same time, I have no idea what would have happened.
Yeah.
But
the presence of mind of those two adults who fell in the grass like that's pretty amazing.
It was. They just literally grabbed me. I don't think they had been practicing any maneuvers, but it was perfect. It could not have ended any better, except maybe the bear run off before I killed it. But
How big was that bear?
It was probably 800-900 pounds. He was a mature bear. I think he was about 12 years old, 9.5 foot bear by trophy standards. It was summertime, so he was a little leaner than they are. And he had been feeding. He had a lot of fresh scars and fresh wounds on his ears and his face. And the whole time we were skinning him, we came back and skinned him because the Fish and Game requires you turn in the hide with the claws and everything and skull. And there was bears fishing. We could hear them 25 yards away from us in the creek we were going to fish. They were still there fighting. So I think that bear had been in a fight, probably lost it, or run somebody else, and he wasn't going to have any more. He was trying to run us off.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Now, as we skinned it, I did notice all those. One of those rounds was sticking out of the meat on the other side. It had penetrated all the way through the bear and was under the hide. Most of them were all right in the heart lung area, which he was just hemorrhaging blood. That's why he died so fast. But they did get the penetration that I had estimated they would with my testing. But
sure. So what was the bullet?
It was Buffalo Boar it's a 147 grain hard cast flat nose bullet.
What was the rough velocity? You probably know the velocity of it.
It's around 1,300 feet a second.
1,300.
And he made those. I talked to Tim at length afterward, and he said, I made those. He said, he's a big bore guy. He said, but I made them for people who didn't really want to buy some sort of hand cannon. They don't want to buy a 44 Magnum or a 454, but if they would work, he said, I just interviewed you to see what you thought of them. And I said, well, they will work.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot easier carrying a little, Glock or SIG or something that's lightweight with you. And my experience with bears, I mean, I get charged at least half a dozen times a year. I mean, and they're bluff charges. You can usually scare a bear off. There was a possibility that bear would, if you'd seen 3 people, he might have been scared off too. But unwounded bears act different than wounded bears. Wounded bears are fighting for their lives. An unwounded one doesn't. I might have pulled the same thing off with the 22. I don't know. I'm not going to try, but it worked.